Gentlemen, there is one spot on a woman's body that reveals everything she is really feeling. And the moment she lets you touch it, her mind and heart are already yours. And I am not talking about some cheap pickup line or alpha male nonsense. Stick with me because what I am about to reveal will completely change the way you read every single female signal forever. I want you to slow down for a second and really take this in, because what we are talking about today is not surface-level attraction. It is not about tricks, lines, or memorized behaviors. It is about something much deeper, how a woman's body communicates what her words often cannot. There is a silent language happening in every interaction you have with a woman, and most men are completely blind to it, not because they are incapable, but because no one ever taught them how to see it. Now let me ask you something honestly. Have you ever walked away from an interaction with a woman and thought, I think she liked me, but I am not sure? Or maybe the opposite. She was polite, but something felt off. That confusion you felt, that uncertainty, it does not come from a lack of effort. It comes from misreading the signals that were right in front of you the entire time. And once you start understanding this, you will never look at attraction the same way again. Because here is the truth most people will not say out loud. Attraction is rarely spoken clearly, but it is always expressed physically. And no, not in the obvious ways you are thinking, not in exaggerated flirting or dramatic gestures. It is subtle. It is instinctive. It is happening beneath awareness. A woman's body is constantly responding to how she feels in your presence. And those responses are far more honest than anything she could say out loud. What we are diving into today is that hidden layer, the one that separates men who guess from men who understand. When a woman allows certain types of touch, she is not just being nice or going along with it. Her nervous system is making decisions in real time. It is asking questions like, do I feel safe with him? Do I trust him? Does his presence calm me or create tension? And the answers to those questions show up instantly through her body. This is why two men can do the exact same thing. Reach for her hand, touch her shoulder, stand close, and get completely different reactions. One feels natural, even welcome. The other feels uncomfortable, forced, or even repelling. The difference is not the action, it is the emotional experience behind it. And that is where most men get it wrong. They focus on what to do, instead of understanding what she feels. Let me give you a real-life example. Imagine you are sitting next to a woman at a bar or cafe. Conversation is flowing. Things feel light, maybe even playful. At some point, you lightly touch her arm while making a point. Now here is where everything matters. Not the touch itself, but what happens next. Does she subtly lean in closer? Does she continue talking without breaking the flow? Does her body remain relaxed? Or does she stiffen slightly, shift her posture, or create a bit of distance? Most men miss this moment entirely. But this moment is everything because her reaction is not calculated. It is instinctive, and instinct does not lie. What is happening here is deeply rooted in psychology and biology. Human beings are wired to detect intention through touch. Studies have shown that people can identify emotions like affection, tension, dominance, or even discomfort through physical contact alone without a single word being spoken. And women in particular are exceptionally attuned to this. A woman's nervous system is constantly scanning for emotional safety. It is not something she consciously thinks about. It just happens. So when you touch her, she is not just registering the physical sensation. She is reading your energy, your confidence, your emotional state, your authenticity. If you are tense, unsure, or trying too hard, she feels that. If you are calm, grounded, and present, she feels that too. And this is why attraction is not something you can fake. It is felt. Now, I want to take you deeper into this idea of emotional zones, because this is where things start to become very clear. Think of a woman's body not just as physical space, but as layers of trust. Each area represents a different level of emotional access. And as you move from one level to the next, what you are really doing is moving deeper into her sense of comfort, safety, and connection with you. The first level is neutral territory, arms and shoulders. This is where most interactions begin, and it is also where many men get stuck. A light touch on the arm, a casual tap on the shoulder. These are socially acceptable gestures. They do not carry much weight on their own. If she allows this, it does not necessarily mean she is attracted. It simply means she is comfortable enough not to pull away. But even here, there is information. Is she open in her posture or slightly closed off? Does she angle her body toward you or away from you? Does she maintain eye contact or does she start to disengage? These are micro signals, but they matter more than anything you could say, because at this stage, she is not deciding if she wants you. She is deciding if she feels okay around you. And that is the foundation of everything. Now let us move slightly deeper. Hands and wrists. This is where things start to shift. Holding hands is not just physical contact. It is symbolic. It represents connection, presence, and a willingness to share a moment together. When a woman allows you to hold her hand, even briefly, she is giving you a certain level of emotional access, not just physical, but the wrist. That is where it gets more interesting. The wrist is sensitive. It is vulnerable. It is not a place people casually allow others to touch unless there is a degree of comfort already established. So, if she is relaxed when you touch her wrist, if she does not pull away, if she even subtly responds, that is a sign that her guard is lowering. Not completely, but noticeably. And here is where I want you to pay attention to something important. It is not about rushing from one level to the next. It is about whether she is inviting you forward. Because when it is right, it does not feel like progression. It feels natural. There is a flow to it, a rhythm. And when you are in sync with that rhythm, everything becomes effortless. Now I know some of you watching might be thinking, okay, but how do I know if I am reading this right? That is a fair question. So let me give you a simple exercise you can start using immediately. The next time you are interacting with a woman, focus less on what you are saying and more on how she is responding physically. Not in an obsessive way, but in an aware, grounded way. Notice her breathing. Notice her posture. Notice how her body reacts when you slightly shift closer or make light contact. Does she mirror you? Does she relax or does she create distance? These are your answers, not her words, her body. And once you start paying attention to this, something interesting happens. You stop needing constant validation. You stop guessing. You start knowing. And that confidence, that quiet certainty is incredibly attractive on its own. Now we are about to go deeper into the next levels, the ones most men completely misunderstand, especially when it comes to the waist, the back, and eventually the most revealing signal of all. Because there is one area, one specific place where if she allows you in, it is no longer just comfort. It is something much more powerful. But before we go there, take a second. If this is already shifting how you think about attraction, hit that like button. Not just for the algorithm, but because it tells me you want more of this kind of real, grounded understanding. And if you have not subscribed yet, do that now, because what is coming next is where everything clicks. Now let us go deeper, because this is where things start to separate surface-level interaction from real emotional movement. We are moving into a zone that most men completely misinterpret. Not because they are careless, but because they have been taught to look at attraction in a very linear, almost mechanical way. But attraction is not linear. It is layered, emotional, and deeply instinctive. The waist and lower back is what I call the instinctive test zone. Here is why it matters so much. This is one of the first areas where a woman cannot fully see your movement. When you place your hand lightly on her lower back while guiding her through a door, or when you stand close and there is subtle contact at her waist, her reaction is almost entirely subconscious. She does not have time to analyze it. She feels it. And in that split second, her body answers one question. Do I feel safe with him being this close to me without full control or visibility? That is a powerful psychological moment. If she stiffens, shifts away, or repositions herself quickly, that is not rejection in a harsh sense. It is information. Her nervous system is saying not yet, or something does not feel aligned. But if she stays relaxed, if she leans slightly into you, if her body does not resist that proximity, that is trust beginning to form on a deeper level. And I want you to notice something here. This is not about dominance. It is not about asserting control. It is about how your presence feels when you enter her space. There is a difference. A man who is grounded, calm, and emotionally present can place his hand on a woman's lower back, and it feels natural, even comforting. A man who is uncertain, trying to impress or seeking validation, can do the exact same thing and it feels invasive. Same action, completely different emotional impact. And women feel that difference instantly. Let me share a quick real-life scenario to make this clearer. A woman once described 2 different dates she went on. With the first man, everything looked good on paper. Confident, well-dressed, saying the right things. But when he touched her lower back while walking into a restaurant, she felt a subtle tension. She could not explain it logically, but her body did not relax. With the second man, there was less performance, less trying. But when he did the same gesture, she did not even think about it. Her body stayed soft. She felt at ease. And later she said something really telling. With one, I felt handled. With the other, I felt safe. That is the difference you need to understand. Now let us move into an even deeper layer. The neck and the face. Make no mistake, this is sacred territory. Biologically, the neck is one of the most vulnerable parts of the human body. It protects vital pathways, your pulse, your breath, your life. So when someone allows touch there, it is not casual. It is deeply instinctual trust. And the face is identity. It is how we present ourselves to the world. It is where emotion is most visible and most protected. So if a woman allows you to touch her face, brush something away, hold her gently there, you are no longer in a casual interaction. In this moment, you are in emotional proximity. But here is the nuance that most people miss. It is not just about whether the touch happens. It is about how she receives it. Does she soften? Does her eye contact deepen? Does she pause even briefly as if the moment slows down? Or does she pull back even subtly? Because again, her body will tell you the truth before her words ever do. Now, at this point, you might be starting to see the pattern. Each level we move through is not about increasing physical contact. It is about increasing emotional permission. And that permission cannot be forced, rushed, or manufactured. It has to be felt by her. And here is something I want you to really sit with for a moment. A woman does not open up like this because of what you do. She opens up because of how she feels around you. That is why some men can follow every rule they have learned online and still feel like nothing works, while others seem to move effortlessly through these levels without even trying. It is not technique, it is presence. Now we are about to move into the final level, the one that ties everything together. But before we go there, I want to bring you into something more personal. Think about the last time you felt genuinely connected to someone. Not just attracted, but comfortable, seen, at ease. What created that feeling? Was it something they said, or was it how you felt in their presence? That sense of ease, of not needing to perform, of just being able to exist without tension. That is exactly what a woman is searching for when she allows deeper levels of closeness. And if you can create that space not perfectly, but genuinely, you do not need to chase signals. They come to you. Here is a small but powerful exercise I want you to try. The next time you are with a woman, instead of focusing on impressing her, shift your attention to grounding yourself. Slow your breathing slightly. Relax your shoulders. Be fully present in the moment instead of thinking ahead. And then notice what happens. Because when you regulate your own nervous system, you influence hers. Calm creates calm. Presence creates safety. And safety is the foundation of attraction that actually lasts. If this is starting to click for you, take a second and drop a comment below. Something simple like, "I get it now," or "This makes sense." I read those, and it also helps this reach more people who need to hear it. Now let us talk about the final level. The one area that acts like a truth detector. The one signal that when it happens naturally tells you more than anything else we have discussed. Because when a woman allows this, it is no longer just about trust. It is something deeper, something instinctive, something she does not even consciously decide. And once you understand this, you will never second-guess her feelings in the same way again. We arrive at the final level, the one that quietly reveals everything, the hair. And I know at first that might not sound as significant as everything we have built up to, but this is exactly why most men overlook it and completely miss what it actually means. Hair is not just physical. It is emotional. It is symbolic. It is deeply personal. For most women, their hair is tied to identity, femininity, self-expression, even control. It is something they adjust when they are nervous, play with when they are flirting, fix when they want to feel more composed. It is one of the few parts of the body that is constantly being managed, touched, and protected by them. So when a woman allows someone else into that space, it is not random, it is revealing. But let us slow this down, because this is where nuance matters more than ever. It is not about you reaching for her hair. It is about her allowing it, and more importantly, how she responds in that moment. Because this is not a conscious decision she is making. This is her nervous system speaking. If your hand moves gently naturally, maybe brushing a strand away, maybe your fingers lightly passing through and she leans into it. If her head tilts slightly without her thinking, if her eyes soften or even close for a brief second, if there is a small unfiltered smile that appears without effort, that is not performance. That is not politeness. That is a full-body response. That is emotional safety and physical comfort aligning at the same time. And when those two align, something powerful happens. Her guard drops without her needing to decide to drop it. Now let me be very clear about something, because this is where people misunderstand and misuse information like this. This is not a move. This is not something you try to make happen, because the moment it becomes forced, intentional in the wrong way, or driven by an outcome, it loses everything that makes it real. And she will feel that immediately. Remember what we talked about earlier. Women do not just feel the touch. They feel the intention behind it. So if that intention is impatience, neediness, or trying to get somewhere, her body will close off just as quickly as it opened. But when it happens naturally, when the connection has already been built, when the trust is there, when your presence feels grounded and safe, this moment does not feel like escalation. It feels like a continuation. And that is the difference between attraction that flows and attraction that collapses. Let me share something that really captures this. A woman once explained a moment she had on a quiet evening walk. There was no big setup, no dramatic flirting, just conversation, laughter, and a sense of ease. At one point, a strand of her hair fell across her face, and the man she was with gently moved it aside. She said what stood out was not the action itself. It was how it felt. There was no hesitation, no awkwardness. She said it felt natural, like he was already close to me even before he touched me. That is what you are aiming to understand. Not how to do something, but how to create the kind of presence where moments like that happen without effort. Here is the deeper psychological layer. When a woman responds positively to that level of touch, it is because multiple systems in her brain have aligned at once. Her emotional brain feels safe. Her instinctive brain does not detect threat. Her relational mind feels connection, and her body follows. This is why you will often hear women say things like, "I do not know why, but I just felt comfortable with him." That "I do not know why" is everything we have been talking about. It is not confusion. It is subconscious clarity. Now let us bring this back to you in a practical way, because understanding this is powerful, but applying it is what changes your experiences. Stop focusing on outcomes. Stop thinking in terms of how do I get her to like me or what should I do next. Instead, shift your focus to this one question. How does she feel in my presence right now? Because if the answer is relaxed, open, at ease, you are already moving in the right direction. If the answer is uncertain, tense, or distant, no action or technique will override that. And this is where emotional intelligence becomes your greatest advantage. Pay attention not in a hyper-analytical way, but in a grounded, aware way. Feel the interaction. Do not just perform it. Let moments breathe. Allow silence when it happens. Notice the subtle shifts, because attraction lives in those small, quiet spaces, not in the loud and obvious. Now I want to leave you with something that might challenge the way you have been thinking about all of this. What if the goal was never to win her over, but to create a space where she naturally wants to move closer? What if instead of chasing signals, you became someone who understands them and responds in a way that feels right, not forced? That is where real connection begins, and that is what most people never learn. If this gave you a new perspective, if you feel like you are starting to see things more clearly, take a second and hit that like button. It helps more than you think, and it tells me you want deeper conversations like this. Drop a comment too. I would genuinely like to know, what is one moment you have experienced where someone's presence made you feel instantly comfortable or instantly unsure? Those insights matter. And if you have not already, subscribe, because this is just the beginning. There are layers to attraction, connection, and human behavior that most people never explore. But once you do, everything changes. The truth is simple, but not always easy to accept. Touch is not about control. It is not about strategy. It is a conversation, one that happens without words. Every gesture, every reaction, every subtle shift is telling a story about trust, safety, and emotional alignment. And when you learn to read that story, not force it, not rewrite it, but truly understand it, you stop guessing, you stop overthinking, you stop trying to be someone you are not. And you start connecting in a way that feels real for both of you. Because at the end of the day, that is what this is really about. Not getting closer to her body, but being someone she feels safe getting closer.